Hi, good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you joining us for today's webinar, Linux Essential Mastering the Most Powerful Operating System. I'm Mohana, and I'm an L&D manager working with Pioneer Business Solutions. On behalf of Pioneer Business Solution, it is my pleasure to welcome each of you to this session. We truly appreciate your taking the time to be with us today. We hope this session provides you with valuable knowledge, practical insights, and a better understanding of how Linux contributes to today's technology ecosystems. Let's go. Let's get started. Let's go. So before we move into today's topic, let me take a moment to introduce Pioneer Business Solution. Pioneer Business Solution is a corporate learning and workforce transformation partner helping organizations strengthen their capabilities through customized learning and development solution. Also, our expertise spans leadership and management development, business and behavioral skills, sales and functional trainings, AI and emerging technologies, cloud and IT certifications, also digital transformation program. We support professionals across different stages of their careers, from freshers and early career talent to managers, senior leaders, and specialized technical teams. Also, our approach goes beyond delivering trainings. We focus on creating learning experience that are practical, relevant, and aligned with both business objectives and professional development needs. With that, we partner with organization on customized corporate training, upskilling and reskilling innovatives, capabilities buildings, and workforce transformation program, helping them prepare their talent for a evolving demand of the industries. Okay. And you can see the slide. We are successfully running more than experience. We are just going with 10 years of experience, and we have 15 players, ATP partners, 500 players, certifications, and industry we serve with finance, healthcare, retails, automotive, and many. If you can see here, enterprise innovation platform, AI courses, cybersecurities, cloud computing, and many, we are just going with that. So you can see our clients. These are all our clients and our partners too. These are all our partners like AI Certs, Microsoft, Scrum, Oracle, IBM. So these are all our partners. Now coming to today's topic, Linux. Linux has become a fundamental technology across the modern IT landscape. IT powers like wide range of environment for cloud platforms and servers to DevOps, cybersecurity, software development, and enterprise infrastructures. The session, Linux Essential Mastering the World's Most Powerful Operating System, is designed to introduce the functional of Linux while highlighting its practical relevance in today's technology-driven environments. This very webinar will be particularly valuable for IT professionals, aspiring cloud and DevOps practitioners, system administrators, developers, and anyone looking to build a strong fundamental in Linux. We are also pleased to have Harsh here. Harsh is a senior technical trainer and full stack architect with over 10 years of experience. Linux develop like also he have experience in Linux, DevOps, cloud computing, full stack development, AI, ML. So he worked with like he trained corporate and professional audience like the organization of Wipro, JP Morgan, Cognitions, Oracle, and many. So I'm sure it will be a informative and engaging learning experience for everyone. With that, the agenda I'll just inform you. Architecture and core competences, essential Linux comments, and real-world Linux administration, and final will be QA and closing remarks. So yeah, let's begin today's session. Harsh, the session is all yours. We look forward to learning from your expertise and insights. Over to you, Harsh.
Hello, everyone. How are you? You can say hi in the chat, please. Okay. So, first of all, today is a rainy season, so enjoy it. Okay. So, before starting the session, okay. Okay. Before starting this session, you should know about what kind of an audience should be here. Okay. And who want to learn in this session, and what's the main agenda you already know about. So here it's a session of Linux fundamentals and real world administration. Okay, we can move ahead the main agenda of foundation thing and advanced oops and cloud. Okay, so before telling you the things like who should attend this particular session, of course, developers, IT professionals, cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, students, and system administrators. Okay, because see, if you don't know about development, so it's okay if you don't know about development. Okay, if you don't know about IT things, okay, then also it's fine. If you don't know about cloud engineering, then also it's fine. DevOps, then also it's fine. Strengths, then also it's fine. And if you don't know about system administration, it's okay. But in brief, if you already attend this kind of an whole structure and the things, the particular like developers, IT professionals, so it helps to understand a basic foundation of what is Linux. Okay. Now, so these are the some thing and some topics which we are going to which we are going to cover about it, and how this function works, how this model works. We are going to talk about it. Okay. So it's an open source kernel. Operating system, basically the thing is, if you know about kernel, it's an operating system. Like if you are working with Windows, if you are working with any kind of a things like Mac, I'm using a Mac right now. So it's a operating system, and end of the day, indirectly or directly, we are using a Linux. Okay. Now it's an open source kernel, and which is created by Linus Torvalds in 1991. Okay, and completely free to inspect, modify, and distribute under the GNU GPL license. So basically, it's a licenses. Okay, licenses which gives a permission to carry on the particular operating system and application and software. So that are some genuine license like a food. We can say that yeah, so that kind of a food license are going on. So similarly, there are applications licenses are there like GNU and GPL license, and it is driven by a massive global developers community. Okay, it's secure, but end of the day, enterprise security is there, but you have to build in some kind of a protocols in it. Then after that, it becomes secure. Okay. After that, fine-grained across control and SE Linux app armor enforcement, isolated user spaces for robust production security. So this kind of a security processes are there. This kind of a protocols are there. Now, the main thing, global infrastructure, which is powered by, which is powered 90% plus public cloud workloads. Okay. Now here, as you can see, Now, here, as you can see, which is run 100% of top 500 supercomputers globally. And as a DevOps engineer, you are already know about DevOps containers. So in that Docker containers, so of course, like Docker containers, Kubernetes, we are going to communicate through the help of Linux to this kind of applications. Okay, that is why we should learn Linux. Okay, to communicate basically. Now, so there are some history like evolution and history. Like 1969, there's a Unix OS operating system. During that time, was a language name that is ABC. Okay. After that, the C, C++, and after that, there are so many of programming languages came up after that. But at the time, we were using only ABC language. Okay. Then in 1983, GNU project standard by Richard Stallman, like it's a license basically, which is there's a community. Okay, and that community father is Richard Stallman. After that, there's a Linus Torvalds which is releases kernels. Now The thing is, whatever kind of an operating system you are using, end of the day, that all are kernels. Okay, even you are using a phone, either you are using a smartwatch or a kernels, because when we communicate, when we are going to communicate with the machine, so we require some kind of a language. So for process that particular language, we required kernel. Okay, so that is only operating system, right? Now after that in 2000 it become bit advanced in Debian and RECL. So that is basically like Linux you can Linux relations you can say that. Okay, means REHEL and Debian, it's a part of a Linux. Okay, after that we are using dominates cloud, Kubernetes and AI. This thing we are using currently. Okay, if you are using AWS as your, and we're using a containers. So for communicating containers, Kafka network for networking. In everywhere we are using a Linux, okay, to communicate this kind of an application. And make a better architecture process of a particular full stack or DevOps part, or in AI also, Gen AI also, so that we can deploy efficiently, and after that we got a result according to that in our servers. Okay, so basically when we are playing with servers and when we are playing with any kind of data during that time, we required a operating system, that is the name of Linux. And to communicate with containers, to communicate with artificial intelligence, Gen AI, agentic AI, and right now we are working on RAG, okay, which is becoming so popular right now. So in that also we can use operating system like Linux. Okay. Now coming to the next part. Now there are some popular Linux distributions. See, whatever I'm giving you are terms, okay? These terms you heard about it. If you already know about it, I must say you already know about it, but if you don't know about it, it's okay. Okay. So either you are using Ubuntu, either you are using a Rocky Linux, either you are using a Amazon Linux. These three have some kind of a difference, but same kernel we are using in this three kind of an kernels. Okay, this three kind of an operating system, because this three same. If you are saying that it's a Linux, okay, like if you are using Ubuntu or Debian, okay, so at the time we are using a apt. If we are using a Rocky Linux, so at the time we are using a yum or DNF. If you are using a DNF, if you're using a Amazon Linux, so at that time you're using a DNF. Okay. Now let's take an hands-on first, so that at least you should know what I want to talk about it. Okay. So before going into the hands-on thing, so you should have a operating system iOS, or either you can install Ubuntu LTS 21.3, I guess. Okay. So 21.1 or 22 to 21.2. There are some basic commands which you should know. If you already know, it's good. If you don't know, please check that out. Okay. So there's a PWD where you can check it out your current folders and files where you are currently available here. Okay. After that, there is a list in your application. Okay. After that, if you want to change your directory, you can change your directory through the help of CD. Okay, and you can move it to another directory. After that, if you want to cd home or a root file, you can write a cd, and after that this particular symbol. Okay, now some essential command which is required in Linux, that are pwd, ls, ls-la, and cd. So these are some particular commands for check out your right now current directory, for in the directory what kind of an application, what kind of folders and files are available, okay, in the particular folder or a files. And if you want to change your directory and you want to check out and you want to work, or you want to do some kind of an read and write your files and folders, so through the help of cd you can change your directory. Okay, so these are some important commands. Okay, so if you know already, so it's good. If you don't know, please you can check that out. Okay. Now, why we are using this kind of a command? Because to work on public cloud infrastructure. In public cloud infrastructure, there are AWS EC2. So if you want to deploy your particular applications, okay, so there you will get only two kind of a thing. First one is terminal, and second one you got a server. You can say that a hosting thing. Okay. So to deploy your particular application from terminal and you want to communicate to another server, at that time you can't communicate through the help of drag and drop. For that there are so many an application like file transfer share and they are putty. Okay, but that kind of a thing is not good always. Okay, so that's why we are using a terminal directly and we can communicate to the particular server. Okay, so at that point you required to know about this skills of Linux, because at the end we are using a kernel. That's the name of Linux. Whatever system you are using, if you are using Windows, if you are using iOS, if you are using, of course, Linux, and if you are using some kind of an applications or web applications, any kind of a thing, indirectly or directly, you are using a Linux here. Okay. So where we are using here public cloud infrastructure, containers and orchestration, smart devices and IoT things, and cybersecurity and auditing. Okay. So in this four, in this four category, or you can say that domain, we are using this particular iOS kernel commands that is known as Linux. Okay, so this four things you are using, and in this four things we are using a Linux like cloud infrastructure, containers and orchestration, smart devices, cybersecurity like this. Okay, if you got it here, what are some modern technologies and delivery pipeline we are using this kind of an Linux? So developer code. Now, if you are agree or not, I must say you are working with snitching code. Snitching code means you are copy and pasting code most of the time to develop something, correct? Or you are going to generate through the help of GitHub Copilot, right? Now, this kind of an things, after that, you want a deployment, means there's a process. First, you are going to snitch your code. Then that code you are going to copy and paste to your particular files and folder into the IDE. And after that, you are going to run your program. That is your particular build up of your production. Okay, after building your production, you are working as a Linux operating system core. This layer going to communicate this four kind of a domain. So first one, you are going to deal in AWS as your whatever server you are choosing, that kind of a thing you are going to communicate in that. As you can see, first we build up our production, okay, our product inside the ID or whatever ID you are using. Either you are using an application, mobile application, or even you are using your particular web application. Or if you are working on any kind of a backend for artificial intelligence, machine learning, any kind of a thing, at the end you require to communicate something to your cloud like AWS, Azure, or GCP. And another thing, you are going to you want to communicate with containers to handle your cross platforms. Okay, so that you don't need to build and install again and again into the different servers. Okay, just put one code and after that it can set up all the things inside your server. That thing can do it through the help of Docker, which creates your image containers. Finally, you required one kind of a pipeline where all the deployment part should be automated through the help of CI/CD. And at the end, you got a live production. Okay, this all things from your development of your product to your deployment to your product. This all things require to communicate some kind of a language, okay, or some kind of a commands required. So that command is Linux. Through the help of this, we can deploy the particular production into the live server. Okay, so this is our whole process. Coming to the next part. So in Linux architecture and core layers, there are some kind of an steps. Okay, like first you should have a graphic user interface. Okay, or user application or utilities. Like if you are working in the Linux part, so first you should have a user application or graphic user interface or utilities like Python application, DevOps agent, desktop graphic user interface, web servers, any kind of a thing where you required one terminal. After that, you got one terminal like bash or zsh. Okay, like I'm using right now, here's a bash. Okay, so you can use any kind of an system calls. It is known as a system calls. So first one, it's a web servers Python application. Basically, these are some application where we can write our commands, right? After that, we require a terminal, that command line interface, or which we say it's a CL. Command line interface means it's a CLI. Okay, so don't confuse with CLI. It's a command line interface when you're working with Linux and there is a shell like PowerShell. Okay, but generally I say terminal because I have a habit. But if you are going into more technical way, so that is a CLI. It's a majorly using kind of a technology term to call command line interface. For me, it's a terminal. For you, it's your name. But we say technically it's a CLI. Okay, or command line interface where we can write a commands. After that, there's a system libraries. Now, system libraries like standard C library routines utilized by application to interact with kernel. So there are only one language which we are using majorly, that is C. Okay, either you are using any kind of a C family, or either you are using Python, or you are using a Java. At the end, you are using a compiler language. Okay, indirectly you are using a compiler language. So any kind of a compiler language or any kind of a standard C library routines, you required a routine for that. Means for apps, means any kind of a system where you have a files, folders, directory, like this kind of an application you are running on any kind of a system, that is system libraries. After that, there is a Linux kernel. So in Linux kernel, what you are doing here, like CPU, which is handling your core operating system, which is handling your drivers. So when we are communicating with a different kind of an hardware, so at that time you are using, even I am using, even everyone using Linux kernel. Okay, we are using a Linux kernel. After that, there's a virtual hardware, CPU, RAM, disk, network interface cards. With each of your particular system, means hardware, we are communicating through the help of Linux. Okay, even your any other operating system also. Okay, end of the day, we are using Linux. We are using Linux in every of the things, because in this kind of a Linux thing, you can observe that it's a open source as well as it's a kind of a thing, it's a open kernel as well. Okay, so you can install it in your system, as well as you can install it to give your command to your particular hardware also. So at the time you are using Linux kernel. Okay, this is something like a heart of this particular session. If you got this thing, trust me, half of the things you got it in Linux. Okay, because this is only the main thing. Now another part is your graphical user interface and your command line interface. Which one is better? So if you ask me personally, CLI is better. Now, if you are working graphic user interface, so basically what you are doing here, there are predefined buttons. In that buttons, you are particular click on that button and you are triggering the particular command. That's it. You are doing. Okay. Now, if you are working on graphical user interface, at that time you are uh, creating overload of your processor. Why? Because you are loading the particular graphs and your particular visualization. Okay, which is not required if you already know about commands. That is why everyone should like, not everyone, basically I like to work on CLI, but most of them who don't know about commanding part, they can use through the help of button, and it is easier for them because everyone can't become a developer or everyone can't handle so many commands. So it's better to work on graphical user interface, right? So that's why there are some kind of an applications where we are using graphical user interface like RAM, CPU, resources for desktop rendering. It's difficult to automate repetitive servers administrative tasks. That is why you should go with a CLI thing. Okay, this CLI requires some kind of an practice, or when you are doing same job again and again through the help of CLI, definitely you will going to remember all the commands. Okay, now here really installed on production cloud servers, because at the time we can't use always graphical user interface in the cloud during the time of deployment, and like speed and precision for remote server administration. Okay, because it's a sensitive things, and everywhere we can't use graphical interface. So at it, after that or end of the day, you have to learn about your commands. Okay, it is power flexible and remote management capability is standard interface for server cloud and container administration, easily automate via bash, ansible or python scripts, any kind of a terminal. Okay, I'm mentioning that any kind of a terminal, and it is extremely lightweight, fast, and accessible securely over SSH. So that is why you should use a CLI. It takes time. It not take much time if you are using if you are doing continue job. Automatically, you will remember all the commands. Okay. So if you have a habit to use a graphical user interface in the basic kind of an application, leave that thing, come to the CLI and run your commands through the help of CLI, like terminal or any kind of a shell. Okay. So with that, you can observe that your programming skills and your understanding about the particular application is becoming more improving, is improving day by day. So that is why use CLI. Okay. So another one is user to hardware execution flow. So in this, as you can see, I already show you some kind of a demo, like how you can work on a command, like a user types command, like list, then shell interprets, then system call, then kernel and drivers and hardware read disk. Okay, so this kind of an commands you can use a SSD, NME yields data, and there are some EXT, XFS. See, you will get all the commands in the internet. Okay, don't worry. But the thing is, you should learn about how you can create a pipeline to work in your efficient kind of a deployment into data. Commands is not something like which is most difficult thing, but deploy your application to your server, that is something like which is required some kind of an skills. For that, when you should use that particular command, that requires some kind of an polishing. Okay. which which comes from experience, or either you can learn from anywhere which have a good sources. Okay, now there are some kind of an roots, and there are one more module name is that is a file system hierarchy standard. So when you're working with a kernel, okay, so at that time you should know about your main root file, you should know about your drives, you should know about your administration, you should know about your the particular hardwares, inside the hardware what kind of files and folders are there, that all things you should know. Okay, so that is why, to give a structure to your files and folders, required a single root tree. After that, require a file system hierarchy standard to maintain our files and folders in a such a structure way. So when we call out, so that relation to one folder and another file can merge up the things. That is a standardization. Okay. FHS, you can say it. Don't make a label of difficult. It's very easy thing. That is file system hierarchy standard. You saw this so many of your particular Linux, um, inside the Linux kernel or inside the PowerShell also, like FHS. Okay, terms. This term you already saw so many times. That is nothing. It's a file system hierarchy standard where you are managing and where you are making your own standard or protocol according to your application. So whenever you call your particular file, or whenever you want to run your particular application through the help of terminal, or you want to deploy to your particular server, so at a time when you're creating an image container, so you don't face any kind of a difficulty, because you have to make your own standards and protocols to maintain your files and structure of your project, right? I hope you got it. So the thing is, when you're talking about FHS, that is file system hierarchy standard. So when we are talking about this kind of a system here, understand the thing. You develop one kind of an application, like we develop the e-commerce application. Okay. Now, inside the e-commerce application, you are going to maintain your files and folder, and inside the folder means one folder, then another folder, then another folder. Like you are creating a filters. In that filters, you are creating a different kind of a filters, like price through the help of you can purchase through the help of size, you can purchase through the help of color. So this kind of a folders, inside the folders, you are creating your own package of your filters. Okay. So that is something like a standardization, which is required to maintain it, so that you can, whenever you are going to deploy your project, so at least it maintain a one relation to another relation. So your locations should be specified. Okay. But what if you are not using standardization? What will happen if you are using only single root tree? So after that, what you will do? You will create one folder. Inside the folder, what you are going to do? Inside the folder, you will create a filter, and that filter have a different files without any folder. Like filter, like after that you have a file name is something like inside the filter you are developing a you can say that you are creating a file of age, or you are creating a filter file of your price, any kind of a filters. Basically there are so many filters inside the files without any folder, individual folders. What will happen? Might be name of your function, might be it got it same, like you create a function of filter inside the age, and you create a function name is that is inside the particular color. Okay, it's a filters basically. So whenever you call it, what will happen? It might be collapsed during the time of deployment. So here it's a universal paradigm. Okay, so in Linux everything is a file, devices, directories, configuration, socket streams, kernel states, everything it's a file. So that is something like a FHS, which maintain your standard of your particular files and folders, so you can run your particular application to your server. That's the main agenda of FHS. Okay. Now, so there are some Linux root directory tree like bin, boot, then device files. There is a system configuration files. I'm not showing a hands-on particularly thing because it's requires a time, but I want to introduce and give you a brief about it. If you wanted some kind of a specific kind of a module, definitely I do it. Okay. But where I got it that it is required, so definitely I will give it to you. Okay. Now there are some kind of a root directory like bin, boot, dev, etc, home, opt, proc, tmp, user, programs and libraries, variable data. What are this? These are some root directory. Now root directory, don't understand and misinterpret it in your mind that it is something like a huge thing. When you are working with this, but I'm using the iOS, so my root file, my root folder name is bin. Okay. If you are using a particular server like Ubuntu, you will got a this root file, which is a root folder name is, and in that root directory you will get a boot. Okay, so these are some of the things where you got these things inside the root file. Like bin, it's an essential binary thing, like list you will get it. Inside the boot, you will get a kernel boot files and grub. Div means your device files. You got inside the root files this kind of a folders, right? Like whom you are using a lot during the time of deployment. If you are in a position of casual. Okay, so this kind of a thing, as you can see, these are some important things you should know, a full form of everything. Okay. You can write it down somewhere or you can snap it. Okay. Here you will get a directory quick reference. So if you want to know what kind of an files and folders inside the MySQL or SSH or NIGNX, so you can just write etc. You will get all the configuration lives, like what kind of an configuration which is present inside the root file. Okay. Then there are log system, like what is going on in investigating the things when your server got crashed. Then there's a proc. So these are some commands to handle and tackle this root directory file. Getting my point? These are the commands here we are using. These are my root files where I'm using inside my servers. Okay. Laptop is also a server. So if you're using a laptop, inside the laptop, if you want to know any kind of an application, you can use this particular command. Okay. There are so many things to check it out, but it is important thing you should know. Okay. Like I try to give you a brief of everything. After that, there's a critical directories for system administration. Now, if you are working in system directories or critical directories for system administration, etc is something like majorly I use it, or even you can use it so many. You are using already so many times to handle your system and service configuration. Okay, like if you know about your configuration of NGINX, so you are using a etc, right? If you want to know about password of your particular application, if you forgot it, so you can write etc password. Now in password there is limitation, it is public or private. It is public, so you can have it. If it's a private, so definitely you should take a permission from it. Okay. Then there's a F step. So this F step is something like where you will get a file system of your file system of your particular information. Like it's a log thing. Okay. Now coming to the part of directory. So inside the directory, if you want to know about what kind of an HTML you are using, what kind of file you are using, what kind of format you are using, at the time you can write where, and basically it's a variable application runtime data. Okay. So that kind of a thing, through the help of this, you can know about any kind of a format thing. Okay. Through the help of Linux, or if you're using any kind of a kernel like Ubuntu, Red Hat, anything. Okay. Now, if you want to know about the service logs or any kind of information where you are using a particular machine or service or servers. Similarly, there is one more famous kind of an command or directory, that is user, program and vendor software. In this, as you can see, this is some user bin where you can check out your system binaries and user commands. Okay. Or if you want to know about third parties enterprise, when you're working with your kernel, what kind of a third party you are using. So at a time you will call a directory name is opt and app. Okay. So directories are very important. Directories, inside the directories there are so many things. I'm giving a glimpse of it. Now there are two types of path, that is absolute path and relative path. So when you're using absolute path, so you are working as an begin at the root directory. Basically you're working with a root directory which helps to explicit and unambiguous regardless of current location. Okay. So like if you want to change your location into the same file or a folder, like you are using a variable, so inside the variable you are using a log information, inside the log information you are using a nginx, so you got a log information of your nginx. If you want to know about your host name, so you will get into the etc, because inside the etc you will got to know about your host name, password, user, and so many of your credentials. Okay. Now, if you want to come up to the SSH, okay, so what kind of a configuration, what kind of a things you are using SSH, you will got to know folder inside the etc. So there are so many paths, but trust me, when you understand the paths one by one, you will break many layers, and through the help of layers you will get so many of your cheat codes to communicate to your server. That's are some cheat codes when you are playing with a directory. That is are some cheat codes you are finding out. Okay. Now there are some relative paths, like if you are working with relative paths, so there is a current directory and your parent directory. In absolute path, you are working into the exact path. Okay, like if you are working with variables, you are working with variable. If you are working with etc, you are working with etc. In relative path, you are working inside the folder. Sorry, inside the directory, there another directory. Like etc, inside the etc, you will got to know another directory. Configuration.json, inside the configuration.json you will get a one of your format. So this kind of a thing, it's a relative path. Okay, now here is some navigation commands. In navigation command, what is something like, you are navigating to a particular folder. Inside the folder you are calling some kind of an packages or things. Like if you want to call your administration, you are working with a pwd. Like if I will write a pwd here, or where am I here, so both are same. Okay, so if I will write where am I, so it's a pwd basically. I'm not found. Okay, so basically you can write pwd. Who am I, sorry, where am I, it's not a where am I, it's a who am I. Okay, so it's a who am I, and if you're writing a where am I, you should write a pwd. Okay, so inside the pwd you will got your particular folders and your directory. Okay, if you're working with ls, so you will got a list. If you want to work with a log system, or if you want to change your directory to your log information, you can write cd where and log. If you want to return your particular directory, so you can write a cd dot, or you can choose like cd or this symbol. It's your choice. Okay, now if you want to move into the another file, so you can write dot dot, and after that you will move into the another file, back file. Okay, so that like this you can play with the things here. Now there are another commands, like you can make your directories, you can touch your empty files, means through the help of touch you can create your files. Okay, copy directory, move or rename files. So this kind of a commands you can use it, and you can play with your operations of your file and directories. Okay, now there are some tools which have a viewing and inspecting tools. Okay, so in viewing, you can check out your particular print entire file content directly to terminal output if you want to do it. Okay, if you want to work on a paginated, so for example, if you are working, see, I don't have a particular setup of servers, because server required a particular sessions one by one. Here it's a brief of your command and your briefing of the thing. So that is why I am introducing your one by one model. Each model have a depth of their content. Okay, because without covering about depth we can't move ahead, but I can give you a glimpse and brief where you can use it. Okay, so that at least you have an idea that this module where we can work it. Okay, so here if you're working with a viewing and inspecting tool or inspection tool, so here you are using this kind of a commands like cat, less, head, tail. So in CAD, if you are using, you are printing entire content. If you are using less, so you are paginated interactive viewer. For example, instead of press Q to exit, you are writing this command, and you will going to move into the exit, or you will move into the system log. So it depends upon how you are going to play with the less. Okay. Now there are some head commands, like if you're working with head -n20 app.log. So what you're doing here, you are display first n lines of a file. So that kind of a thing you can play. So if you want to call your 20 head of your files, because we can't work all the files at the same time. So we require a sample data or sample kind of a log information. So to understand what is going on into my server, at the time we are using a head. Now, if you are using a tail, so you are streaming whatever live information is going on, you are updating a continuously in real time. So it's not like you deployed something and after that you will stop your application and you are going to update it. During the time of update, when we are going to do that, so at that time you are using a tail command. Okay, I hope you got it here till here. Now there are some search and filter data. So if you are working in searching and filter data, you are working in grep and find utility. So grep means global regular expression print. So when you are working with search for text pattern inside files, so at that time you are using a grep. So if you want to work in a 500 error files, okay, so that time you are using a grep method. And when you want to find your particular problem or find your particular size of your particular application, at a time you're using a find utility. Okay. Now there are some system information and diagnosis. So if you are going to if you have some kind of a OS system which you want to print it in your system, so you have to write a unnamed hyphen a means all, and you will got a generic information about your operating system. Now there are some who am I already told you that is display active user account name. So this is something like a system information diagnosis. So if you have any information problem, so you can use this kind of an commands. Okay. Now there are so many of commands here which takes time to explore it. Okay, like there are some input and output redirection in command pipelines. So there are some command pipelines like if you are working with the redirection operators, so first you are going to call your file name and it will say you hello. Okay. If you want to join something or you want to add on your file, so you will write append standout and to end of file. So like this, you can merge your file system. Okay. Where you want to merge it, that thing you can write it down in your particular echo. Okay. So echo means you are calling, and after that, after echo, you are putting some kind of an inside information. Whatever you want to write your context or your text, you can do it. Okay. If you want to redirect your error message, so you can write error.log. Okay, so there are some commands like pipeline operators. So this pipeline operators helps to work in your operation when you're working inside the pipeline. Okay, or when you're working with inside the architecture. So when you have one command and if you are shifting to another command, so at a time you are playing with like list, you are playing with a chain directory inside the grep and you are going to write your log information. So you will get a whole pipeline information inside the log. Now, there are critical things. Okay, so I am not giving you a challenge, but yes, I will ask you something. Okay, now there are some pseudo privileges groups and user accounts where you can use your particular commands or you can play with a Linux. So here are some root users, that is UIDO or 0, you can say that. So when you're working with a super user and you are working with the unlimited administrative power over system, so best practice is to direct root SSH. Okay. So basically it's a security thing. Okay, where you are putting your credentials and after that you will get an output. For that, you are using a root user. If you are working on a standard user, you are working restricted user or UID. Okay. When you're working with a privilege of your sudo, when you are literally you want to work with a privilege, you want to take your privilege through the help of sudo. So you will execute specific commands with administrative rights. So basically, you are giving a permission of us through the help of sudo. Like I don't know if you already know about iOS or Linux. So whenever you are going to run your application or download your application, you write sudo and after that you are going to give a path of it, and after that you are going to give a sudo to run that particular application, then sudo start. Okay, and then you will give your password, whatever system password you have, and after that it will run in your particular system. That happened, right? So that is a pseudo privilege. Basically, you are working sudo because through the help of sudo, you are giving a permission as well as you are handling your system as well. And you are maintaining your root file. So through the help of sudo, you are commanding all the things at one command, that is sudo. Okay. So that's the benefit of sudo, which where you can use a sudo, you will get a sudo in Linux, oh sorry, Ubuntu, and after Ubuntu, you will get in iOS also. So majorly, whenever I want to install something, I use a sudo, and I give a permission and password as well through the help of sudo. Okay. Now Linux file permission dissection. So basically, it's something like where there are some permission string breakdown. Okay, so you can break down your permission string like RWX. It's a position 2 to 4. R hyphen X. It's a 5 position to 7. Like read and execute 5, read, write, execute 7. So like this, you can write RWX, R hyphen X, and R hyphen hyphen means other permissions like read only 4. So that kind of a position you can put it through the help of this permission dissection. Okay, where you can break down RWXR to keep your positions. So if you have a file type, so you can write hyphen equals to regular file, D equals to directory, I equals to symbolic link. Okay, so this is your particular full name. And where you can use this user classes and your permission type. So in user classes, you can write UGO means user owner, G means group, O means others. The account that owns the files, user belonging to the file assigned group, all other accounts on the system. Read means R equals to 4, W equals to 2, X equals to 1. Okay. So view file contain or list directory means you are calling four lines. As you can see here, RWX means you are reading a 4. Okay. So like this, you can check it out the things here. Like permission types and your user classes. Okay. After that, there's a octal permissions. So octal permission, it's a numeric permission mode where you are giving a permissions through the help of octals like chmod 755. Okay, honor r plus w plus x equals to 7. So that kind of a thing you can play with it. So it's a group like r plus x equals to 5 others r plus x. So basically what you're doing here, you are commanding inside the file formats, and in that formats also you are reading the particular lines or writing a particular lines inside the files. So that is a benefit to use a numeric permission modes. Okay, through the help of chmod and CHOWN, that is ownership management and octal permission values. After that, there are some real world scenarios like securing credentials. So if you are working with a secure confidential database configuration file, so you can contain your production passwords from unauthorized system user. So how you're going to call it through the help of sudo ownership app user app group opt app db.config. So that file you are calling and you are giving permission on the same time through the help of sudo. That's a thing where you can work on Linux. But if you're working in graphic user interface, you have to give so many permissions through the help of the different buttons, which is so time taking process and you can't optimize the things. Okay. Here in one line you are handling all the things. So that is the beauty of your Linux. Okay. You are giving a permission, you are giving a ownership, you are calling your app user, you are calling your group, and inside the group you are giving a particular configuration. So that is a thing where you are handling so many things at one point. Okay. So after that, the result restricts read and write access strictly to the application runtime user, blocking all the operating system user completely. So that's the beauty of Linux. That is why you should work on a command and you should understand how this Linux directories works. Because mostly what we do, we read a file, write a file, deploy the things. Okay, that's the thing. But we didn't go inside it. Like here, there are some bit where you are putting the numbers of your process, like an ID. So your services, like your service number one is MongoDB you are running, service number two is SQL is running, service number three is you are running in front end, you are running back end, you are running any kind of a sort of things. So you're putting a number of your processes. And after that, whenever you are assigning a things here, okay, so inside it, what you're doing here, you are controlling the services through the help of bit number. Like everyone using a task manager, right? So inside the task manager, what you are using a PIT only, right? Process IDs. All good here? Everyone got it? So through the when you are controlling that particular thing through the help of Linux, so you are controlling a process and services, what we say that. Now there are one more process concept and life cycle, that is foreground and background. So foreground, you are blocks active terminal input while executing. In background, appending and runs task in background, keeping shell prompt active. So basically your program is closed, but your background process is running, still running. So that is something like through the help of PID, you can analyze it. Like your you can't see a security like firewall, but inside, but background it is running. You are normal in life. You are if you were working with antiviruses, so like if you are working any kind of an antivirus, so in that antivirus you turn off the particular antivirus, but still it is working background, so that it is working background inside the background, and it is scanning your background thing so that it can analyze your files and folder, it is safe or not. So that thing, it's a background participation. Foreground you can't see it, but background it is working. Okay. Now there are process status. There's a process status. Like inside the process status, as you can see, you can run, you can sleep, you can give a stop, you can give a zombie, like terminate for a time, but it is not cleaned up, but it is something like it is waiting to start. So that is a zombie thing. Okay. Stop means pause by the signal, waiting for event or input, like you give a sleep command, and if you give a run, so it is run. So whatever service manager you are using, it's a best example. So at the time you are using a process, concepts, and life cycle. Okay. If you got it, please say yes or no, or give me a thumbs up so that at least I should know that you got it. Now, there are some inspection inside the management, like if you are working with a process inspection, so you can display snapshot of all active system processes. If you are working with HTOP, so you can work in a real-time interactive process inside the CPU and RAM monitor. So basically what is happening here, whatever process, whatever function or whatever kind of an activity you want to do with a process or a service managers, okay, through the help of Linux, you can use this kind of an commands to work on it. Like if you want to display snapshots of all active system process, so you can use this command or a manage services, okay, because at the end you're using a PID. We say normally it's a services, and when you're doing this processes, you are using a service manager inside the kernel or a terminal. Okay, in a lame language we can say that, but in a technical language we have to say that like process inspection and management system is going on. Now here is a usage as top, like you are using a real-time interactive process and CPU RAM monitor. After that, you are, if you want to kill any kind of a PID, so you can write your PID number and write a kill. And if you want to forcefully kill your pet, because sometimes your process still running when you say it's kill it or stop it, but still not stop it. Why? Because the bugs. Okay, when bugs happen, so you have to give a forceful of command. Okay, like kill hyphen 9 pit. So it is not guaranteed like bug will fix, but it will try to kill your things forcefully. Okay. Now there are some system service controls. So inside system service control, there is a system CTL commands. Okay. So basically what is happening here? So if you want to work directly on the operating system or directly on the system, so or you want to control your systems here, so you can use this kind of a command like stop, restart, start status. Okay. So this command we're already using it inside the daily life. If you are working on a deployment side or DevOps, so you are using this and you are familiar with it. So there are some service states like active, inactive, field. Okay. So yeah, so this kind of a things we choosing the things here. Like in production service troubleshoot, we are following this kind of workflow like app down, check service, check logs, check resources, and fix and verify. So through the help of Linux, what we can resolve inside the production service. Okay, so inside it, we are going to check like we are going to check the services inside the troubleshoot production. Okay, so there are some kind of a things we are using so many into daily life, but still there are so many layers. Like if you want to work on a on the spot of your services lines and files, so at the time you can't handle with these basic things. You should know about a folders. Okay, a particular folders. You should know about a particular file. Inside the file, what is happening. So there are so many things inside the Linux. Okay, because Linux is not about a networking thing or a deployment thing or a system administration thing. It's all about your operating system and how you can manage your operating system through the help of inside the Linux. So that's a thing we are working in the production in Linux. Okay. Now there are some questions like which command ensure that SSH service. So be it's an answer. Okay. Now why we should automate? Now this is something like a scripting part. See, scripting is something like we are going to write it out. Okay. Now through the help of command you can automate the things through the help of bash shell scripting. So why we should automate it? Eliminate manual human error. Sorry. Okay. So when we are going to eliminate manual human error during repetitive tasks, so at that time you can just bash, you can use a scripting part or you can use directly Linux commands. You can use execute daily automated backup routines. Okay. You can pass server log files automatically, streamline deployment. After that, the execution steps will be like backup.sh, chmod plus x backup.sh, and you can execute your script of your sh. Okay, so basically what you're doing here, you are automating everything. If anyone have a doubt, please let me know. Okay, so there are some back breakdowns which you should follow. Okay, now the main concern about is enterprise security hardening checklist. So when you're working with any kind of a hardening pillars, so what are hardening? Basically, it's a security thing. So when you want to secure your servers or you secure your kernel, so you should use enterprise security hardening checklist. So first inside the checklist is least privilege. When you are going to disable direct root, and so at that time you require a SSH key. So wherever you are using SSH key, at that time you are giving a least privilege to public platform. SSH key you can enforce in a bit of 4096 RSA, or so basically it's a type of your SSH keys. Now there are so many protocols which you should follow during the time of creating a SSH keys. Okay. After that, create a firewall and you can patch it. So there's a system should be there where you can patch the things of your security, where you can update your security keys and you can upgrade your security keys so that no one can take a privilege or advantage of a particular public platform. Instead of that, we are converting when we are using Linux. So at the time, mostly we are using a private thing. Okay, publicly it's something like it depends upon you, but still it asks you the password of your system. Okay, so which everyone likes it. Okay, now there are some configuration like firewall rules and SSH hardening here. So it's a protocols where security hardening should be there. Okay, like login, then password authentication, pub key authentication. You already use it, and if you don't know about it, so whenever you are working with keys, product keys, also at the time you are working as an configuration of your particular product. Okay, now, if you want to reload your SSH domains, so you can use it. And after that, there are firewall commands like if you want to work with firewall, so you can use UFW, and inside it you can deny your incoming, allow outgoing, and you can give a command. Basically, you can customize each and everything of your security through the help of it. Okay, so these are rules here. Now, what kind of a security access flow? So connection, SSH key, firewalling, pseudo rules, and hardened operating system. Okay. This thing, it's something like you should know about it. So I must suggest you to take a snap of it. And if you have any doubt, please let me know. Because each of the topic, it's in a depth inside it, what I showed you. Okay. After that, why cloud and DevOps engineer must master Linux? Why we should do it? Because to work on a cloud VMs, okay, to work on a containers, to work on a CI/CD pipeline. That is why we should use cloud and DevOps engineers. So here it's a ecosystem of your AWS and Azure. Okay, so where you are working, whatever cloud you are working, you will face easy things when you know about Linux. You can work inside any kind of a cloud when you know about particular Linux commands and you know aware about Linux, because and at the end it's a ecosystem. Cloud, it's a ecosystem of Linux. Okay, you can integrate and anywhere through the help of Linux. Okay, now containers like Kubernetes, IAC, like Terraform, and containers Kubernetes. So here you are using a Linux operating system. Okay, that is why you should know about Linux. There are some kind of a real world case studies like when you have a 2 a.m. the monitoring alert triggers. So NGINX returns HTTP like that is 502 bad gateway on server production web 01. So objective is to diagnose all the points in each steps. So that's why you should know about Linux. So why you what's the investigation execution log? So that's a basically commands you can follow it. Okay, and this is some cheat sheet of it. There's a career and roadmap where after Linux you will got it like after learning Linux there are so many advantages. You can work as an core terminal skills. You will get a bash script like automation basics. You will got to know about ports and protocols. You can make a career in containerization and production skill. Okay, so that's kind of a thing you can check it out. That's it for my side. I hope you like it. Okay. So Linux is not just an operating system. It is a foundational skill for modern infrastructure, cloud computing, DevOps, and software engineering. So if you have any question, please let me know. Okay. And that's it. Thank you everyone. And thank you so much to giving this opportunity here. And have a good day. Take care.